What's up, folks? So, I have a new podcast over here, and I have a guest that I'd really like you to meet. I want to introduce you to Desi Philosopher. Now, I'm sure a lot of my audience already watches him, but for those of you that may be unfamiliar, I thought I should introduce you to him. Faraz, I wanted you to come on to the channel mainly because I really like your content, and I happen to watch some of your videos recently, and I want what you're saying to go to reach a lot more people. So I thought, okay, giving you a platform like this is something I should be doing. And also, I think something that a lot of people here might not know is that we've known each other from 2021. At that point, I think we had a lot of difference in opinion, and I've seen you had different viewpoints back then, and over the years I've seen your viewpoints also evolve. I've seen you sort of mature as a person, and I really like your thought process now. It's kind of well aligned with the way I think also. I just really wanted to have a conversation with you and see where this goes. By the way, for all the people, all the audience, I'm leaving all his details down below. This is Desi Philosopher, his channel. You can find it below. Faraz, welcome.
Thank you, Pranabhai. I mean, some of the inspiration from your end too, to be that courageous to take that leap of faith. I mean, not a religious leap of faith, but a leap of faith when it comes to speaking about stuff which is necessary. I mean, the society has evolved, but what I believe India particularly is going backwards. What the Eastern Europe was like in the 19th century is us today when it comes to religion, when it comes to overlooking philosophy. And people tend to forget that philosophy is somewhere or the other the mother of all intellectual studies. It started and then bifurcated into physics, chemistry, mathematics, whatever you tend to call it as. So yeah, thank you for inviting me and just trying to grind.
Yeah, dude. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. So first, let's start with the genre that you've chosen, philosophy. You do lectures and stuff. It's not really a mainstream genre. It's not the hot topic that a lot of content creators choose. What kind of challenges do you face when you decide on a topic or when you choose to do a video on a particular thing? What's your strategy in general for this genre?
For creating content or facing the criticisms?
No, for creating the content. Maybe we can talk about the criticism after.
So basically, my idea is to illuminate light on people or philosophers who do not exist anymore, who are not here to speak their philosophy, to preach their philosophy. I do not act as the truth. I just try to point my finger towards the truth. You call it absolute truth. There is nothing absolute. I mean, everything is subjective and perspectivist. So there cannot be anything absolute. But I try to be a vessel. And before proceeding for a lecture, I tend to look at the importance and depth that particular lecture or video might bring with it. For example, I recently uploaded a lecture on pre-Socratic philosophers. Everybody knows Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Nietzsche, Camus, all these philosophers who are there, the greats, the pantheon of gods. Now nobody knows about the pre-Socratic philosophers. And that is a very boring topic to study. That is something which is covered in the curriculum of UPSC or NET paper and all that kind of stuff. But whatever competitive examinations are there, but I wanted to illuminate light on that, and I knew it won't get views. I knew it from the day one, but that pushed me to make it the best lecture available on Indian YouTube when it comes to philosophy. And it is a 4.5-hour lecture, and that is, I compiled it in a span of 1 week. Editing, I do my editing and everything. I knew it won't get views, but that was something which I wanted to develop, because as long as YouTube exists, my content would exist, even if I don't exist. And that is a thing in itself. When we look back at our culture, or not culture to be precise, our behavioral patterns, 50 years down the line, 70 years down the line, people would laugh at us. You know, we'd be a laughing stock on the magics and miracles and the all the stuff that we believe on, right? And because of that, the fights that society has, the divide which religion and politics particularly create, people would laugh upon us. And I wanted to create a safe haven wherein people would have a sense of confidence ki, okay, there were these content creators who were present at that point of time, educators, content creators, whatever you may tend to tag it as, and they gave a direction to the society particularly. So that is what I keep in mind. Obviously views is something which used to cross my mind when I started the channel, but slowly I tried detaching myself, and that is the only possible way you can grow on any particular platform. And I recently crossed 50,000 subscribers. It felt good, but I was not over the top. I was like, I just took a screenshot and thank you for trusting me. Nothing special, no cake cutting, no parties in 50,000, all that kind of stuff. Thanks. 50,000 people watching me, supporting me, trying to grasp something. I will be here, I will not be here. That depends on time. But my content will be there and people would listen to it. The philosophers that came by, and that is very important. So, yeah.
By the way, congrats on 50K. I think I saw the post like yesterday or something, right?
Yeah. Yesterday only 50K. Yesterday or day before. I exactly don't remember when I crossed 50K.
So I wanted to know what made you interested in this area, because I've seen you say in some videos that you don't have academic philosophy experience. You've not studied philosophy academically. So what made you interested in this topic, and what prompted you to do this as content?
First of all, I'll like to go back to my roots and history. My family, I have seen both spectrums of my family. My mother belongs to a Hindu family. My father belonged to a Muslim family. So I've seen both at the extremes. Me, you know, being the first child in the household, the pressure came onto me, particularly to adopt Islam and follow the rules and regulations. And me being a curious fool, I mean, a person who is curious but does not have adequate information or knowledge is a fool in the world's perspective. So I considered myself to be a curious fool, and I wanted to inquire, ask questions, and I was always suppressed, be it via my cousins, be it via my uncles, whatever. And I had questions, and I was restricted not to ask questions. And that asking a child not to open the only gift that he has gotten, that is something which is not possible. And that, you know, that is something that is a very basic psychological fact. It infuriates you to open the gift box as soon as possible. So that is what pushed me. I had that, in Hindi it is called that skida, you know, that worm inside of my head. Now, cut to 2021. I shared that with you too, Pranav bhai, that my father expired, and we saw, you know, that rift, people leaving us, and then people coming and explaining me stuff that you have to keep your faith and all that kind of magical, in my opinion. I mean, if religion gives people comfort in their personal ways, which is not hindering with the functioning of society, then it's fine. But it does hinder with the functioning of society, and that is what alarmed me. I mean, it is going on a mass level. If you are a religious person, you want to practice your religion, you want to keep it personal, you don't want to bestow your religion onto someone else, fine. But the problem came in when you want the whole mass to follow that particular school of thought, and you're not open to perspective. That is the most important thing. And that is when people started coming in and have debates with me, and I was very open. I used to post open Google Meet links on my Instagram and on my WhatsApp. Whoever wants to join me, come in, I'll have a debate with you. Any philosophical inquiry you want to have, I'll have. But I was not prepared for a debate. What are logical loopholes, what are fallacies, how these works, how all of these work. And then I realized that I have to equip myself with the most important weapon the world can offer us, which is the weapon of articulation and words. And I just took philosophy as, I'll go into existentialism. Existentialism is basically my genre, which I'm more comfortable with, because it is not very systematic, not very logical. You know, you can keep your points, because you have to cut metaphors with metaphors. Most of the religious books have metaphors embedded in it. A single sentence which has multitude of meanings, and now you have to decide what meaning. Everyone has their own meaning. Because of that, you cannot catch the fallacies there, because since this is a metaphor, it does not point to something conclusive. So, okay, now we are all free to speak anything what we want. It is not something which is in a very systematic manner. So I wanted to cut that with metaphorical shit, which I consider. And that is what existentialism provides you with. And that is what I did. So existentialism is the school of thought which helps you combat existential crisis which comes after you wearing off the layers of the reality of this world, the perspectives of this world. So yeah, this is how I came into philosophy, and then I tried spreading me into. I still do not tend to touch too much systematic philosophy, obviously, because an academic professor or an academician would be more well versed with that. So I keep myself inclined to this particular school of thought. So yeah. Pretty long, but yeah, I wanted to explain the whole thing.
You touched upon the philosophy of religion a little bit. So, for me, from my perspective, the philosophy of religion is something that was very valuable, or something that a lot of people made sense. It made sense to spend time and thought and effort in those ideas couple of 100 years ago, because those were some deep questions that didn't have any answer. So it made sense to think about those. But a lot of those questions have been answered now. I'm talking specifically about things like, the design hypothesis, the creation hypothesis. That, like, where did all these things? Who made the trees? Who made the mountains? Those kinds of questions were the main drivers of questions on of God and beliefs in God. A lot of those questions have been answered, and in my opinion, the philosophy of religion is not something that requires as much time and thought from people today, compared to, say, something more grounded in reality like science. That's what my personal opinion is. What do you have to say about this? And correct me if you disagree.
No, I do not disagree. There are more important things to cater to than religion. I mean, the world is very multifaceted, and you have to bifurcate your opinions in a very positive manner, to be precise, per se. Now, religion came into existence to explain the inexplainable. That is the only line that I have. And it, evolved with time. We got scared, thunderstruck, someone died. How did this happen? There might be some superpower who is doing it. Now let's, ask for forgiveness so that superpower doesn't harm us. Okay, let's make a sacrifice. That sacrifice would make that superpower happy. We are free. Now it evolved. Shelter done, food done, protecting ourselves from the enemy or the animals done. Now we want something else. Now we want to evolve this religion. Economics, social structure, how to marry, how not to marry, what is the correct age to marry. So as you proceed towards Abrahamic religion, you see more structure in the religious formation, and how you should proceed, how you should present yourself on a day-to-day basis, how to, for example, in Islam and most of the Abrahamic religions, particularly in Islam, there's this notion of paying taxes, the Sharia laws. Because I belong to a Muslim family, I will not speak on behalf of other people. It's called zakat. Zakat is something which you have to mandatorily pay. You have gold, you have to pay some percentage. You cannot keep more than this. If you have to pay this to the poor, not particularly to some organization, but to the poor people, right? And this is something which you have to do. And then there is moral obligation, which is known as sadqa, which is, sadqa is something, if you want, you can do that. So, I mean, what I tend to, this is not an Islamic philosophy lecture, but what I wanted to elaborate is, basically, evolution has seen its path. Now, no religion comes into being. Why do not we see religions being formed today? Because we have means to record stuff. We have means to prove stuff. Science has progressed. We have equations to prove stuff. We can use equations to tell something or the other. That's why religions have stopped evolving, and we are stuck there. I mean, nations are progressing to atheism. Right? Nations are progressing themselves to atheism. And people who come in, I mean, there are the omnipotent existence of God, and the ontological existence of God, and all these, the paradox, omnipotence paradox, the God is all powerful, not powerful. You can throw any sort of, philosophical jargon and tend to play in loops. But what we ask is something which is more posited and structured and not metaphorical. That does not outline the fact that we stop believing on something, a concept, because of which stuff came into existence. That could be singularity. before the Big Bang, what was there? The concept of time did not exist. Some particular particles came into, you are more well versed with this. I might butcher this, but I'm just, some particles might have come into a specific frequency, resonance, whatever that is, and then the Big Bang happened and this created. You may call that as God. Now, if you're in a setup, small example, and then I'll keep speaking. If you're in an office setup, right? Let's take a micro setup. There is this boss of yours who controls you, right? Who controls your leaves, who controls your payments, who controls everything that you would be doing on a daily basis. Won't that person at that instant of time be your God? Because that person has power over you. Now you have to illuminate what is the definition of power in your opinion. Power can't be infinite. I mean, then the omnipotent paradox of God comes in, that if can God create the heaviest stone possible that no one can lift? If God can create it, then it won't be able to lift it. Then how is God all powerful? I mean, so these kind of paradoxes exist, and that will be my opinion. No solid punch to anyone. But that is my personal perspective.
Now, you speak on a lot of philosophers, particularly European philosophers. How much interest have you seen in the audience for this kind of stuff? And how much of it is because of your language of communication? Your content is in Hindi. So you think if those same videos were made in English about European philosophers in an Indian context, the audience would be just as interested? Or do you think your content is as accessible as it is because of language?
The name Desi Philosopher itself suggests that I preach Western philosophy, which is primarily the primary source of Western philosophy is in their native language, be it German, Greek, Latin, or English, the secondary. I mean, the primary converted into secondary, and then, and my job is to articulate that in Hindi on the most basic level that I could go on, which is like two friends are sitting. How would I speak to a friend? Like I'm speaking to you, or I'm speaking to someone else. How would you explain philosophy? Which is joining that or integrating that with daily life? Now, how would you act on a day-to-day basis? For example, the Stoicism lecture. That title was, I believe, life-changing lecture on Stoicism. It is life-changing if you imply the points, jot down the points, and apply all your life. If your life doesn't change, you can come to me. We can have a conversation. I'll help you out. 1 year, you try that. Philosophy of existentialism. And these exist. Michael Sergio, Professor Jordan Peterson, all of these. I mean, Professor Jordan Peterson is the person who is a propagator of Friedrich Nietzsche in the Western world. Friedrich Nietzsche, for people who don't know, is an existential philosopher. He is considered to be the founding fathers of atheistic existentialism. And I articulating that in Hindi literally helps the audience. Now, people seeing my name claim that Desi Philosopher has to create stuff on Indian philosophy as well. I mean, that is not my genre. To be very honest, for the time being, I'm not interested. Might be. So I create on Western philosophy because that is the need of this hour. There are people who are not accessible, who do not have access to English. Not all of us are literate and educated and can throw technical jargons and throw words which can, be very beautiful and inspiring. People need to understand Hindi. So that is where I came in. I wanted to act as a Hindi vessel for the audience out there who can understand it. So there are people who appreciate that. I mean, 50,000 people is a proof to, illuminate that claim.
So regarding the philosophy of social structure and economics, you made some videos on things like communism and stuff. What's your personal take on those ideas about economics and social structure and communism and all these things?
Again, when we look at humanity or the social organization, not particularly dividing it into countries in Western world, Eastern world, every society wants to attain a utopia where they expect the society to be a perfect egalitarian society. By egalitarian, I mean that there are equal wages, people are treated equally, there is no discrimination, wealth distribution is very well structured. So when I made lecture on communism, I had to go through people like Karl Marx, Engels, Engels and Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, they both collaborated and gave out the works that they did. And People like Karl Marx. I mean, there are philosophers who are hated on upon. They are hated. Karl Marx is a person who is hated. Nietzsche is a person who is hated. But I never came up from a perspective to hate someone. Even if someone is propagating something wrong, which you consider to be wrong, again, it depends on your monistic or dualistic belief that you consider that as right or wrong. But it is at the end of the day giving you something. It is teaching you something. At least it is telling you what's right or wrong, if you consider things to be right or wrong. So for me, human society wants to achieve a sense of utopia. To achieve that sense of utopia, the only barrier, again, my personal opinion, there can be many factors, I'm not an economist, is money. In the simplest of terms. Money is something which controls this world, whether you like it or not. And secondary, time. For example, you want to learn something, you buy a course, right? You paid some money to acquire that experience. Or you go to a college to acquire the same experience on a very less fees. You have to pay something, either time or money. In the case of the course, you paid, let's say, 5 lakh rupees for that course. In terms of college, you went into a government college, you paid, let's say, 70,000, 80,000 for those 3 years of, experience, but you gave your time, 4 years, which you could have learned in a span of 6 months. To sum it all, I mean, I go here and there. To sum it all, in my opinion, the society struggles to achieve that utopia when it comes to organizing, how to organize a society economically, and what is the social structure. And religion is something which comes in to hinder the societal structure. Mine is the best. No, mine is the best. My God is the best. No, my God has to be the best, because they lay down these powers. They lay down these benefits that you would get in a particular religion. So religion has become a quantified, tool to measure success in the afterlife. Everything that everyone does is for, to gain something or the other, right? Plato elaborated this in one of his books or one of his discourses, wherein I believe the concept of the movie Lord of the Rings come from this. Wearing that ring. Have you watched Lord of the Rings? Obviously, you would have. Yeah, you wear that ring, Sauron's ring, and you disappear. That was, I believe, Plato's idea, wherein he said that there is a just king who wants to do good for the society, the economy of that particular kingdom. And he, like, every week goes away distributing rice, flour, and he likes distributing stuff to the poor and to the needy. Now, if you give that ring to that particular king, would he still do that? Because he wears the ring, he becomes invisible. He'll not get any appreciation for that. I mean, you'd go around, you'll just keep sacks of flour, but you'll not get any appreciation. So would that king remain the just king? That is the question. So that is what comes on to the society. If the concept of religion, God, and everything surrounding that is eradicated from your system, would you be a just person or a moral person? So that is where everything boils down to. There are many restrictions to achieve that utopia. Communism tried it in its way. Capitalism tried it in its way, and this goes on. There is a loop. No particular conclusion.
You talked about a lot of philosophers. Whose philosophy do you like the most? And who's your favorite philosopher and why?
Has to be Friedrich Nietzsche. I relate my life with him the most. I considered myself to be different, and that difference created the wealth around me, the success around me. Whatever I do, be it relations, be it, wealth is a combination of both life and the richness that you have, the happiness that you bring with yourself. I mean, my appearance would be I do not seem to be a very happy person because of the beard and the hair, but I consider myself to be happy. Now, coming to your question, Friedrich Nietzsche is one of the philosophers who I admire the most, because his life is something which I reflect from. He also lost his father. He was also a curious fool. And I was in a quest of such people. I wanted to see, are there any people who are such explicit with their concepts on the religion or the social commentary? And I came on this person, and I was searching on Google. This person came in. God is dead. God remains dead. We have killed him. Saying that in the 18th century would have burned you to the people would have burned you to the stake. And this guy is saying God is dead. God remains dead. We have blood on our hands. Shall we consider ourselves as gods? The concept of Superman came through Friedrich Nietzsche, Ubermensch. The Superman DC thing that you see is Friedrich Nietzsche's concept. The narration and the dialogues are taken from Friedrich Nietzsche's book, Beyond Good and Evil, The Gay Science, and Das Buch Zarathustra. And his stuff was very difficult to understand. Is very difficult. But whenever I wrote my book, I was writing my book, which is still not finished. I was writing my book. The difficulty level, somewhere or the other, he's one of the most important geniuses of our generation. I cannot match his level of expertise and words, but it did match. So Friedrich Nietzsche became one of my favorite philosophers because I was able to see myself in him. And he was a propagator, one of the propagators who spread atheism, existential atheism. What is mental health? Why does mental health come into existence? Because of existential crisis. Most of the mental health issues come from existential crisis. I mean, I don't have the statistics, so I'll not go into that. But many cases are there. People are depressed, are anxious, but they don't know why. Because they're having an existential crisis. They don't know, be it choosing a job, be it choosing a career, be it choosing a god, or be it choosing a school of thought. So Friedrich Nietzsche is something who did that. He's a propagator of why nihilism is bad. He is a prophet who predicted the advent of nihilism. That since we are accepting technology, science, so in a way we are killing God by ourselves. We have killed God because we do not need God anymore. And that is what the world is shifting towards. AI, cyborgs, Elon Musk, Neuralink. So yeah. So he is one of because he's a prophet. He predicted many things. So yeah, I like him.
What's your take on rationality and the philosophy of science and people like Karl Popper and Thomas Kuhn and all these philosophers of science? So what's your take on that?
I mean, to be honest, I have not read these people. Carl Sagan, who's a fiction writer. I mean, and I've gone through him. I wanted to become an astrophysicist, then an aerospace engineer, but my mathematics was pathetic. It was fucked up beyond measure. Sorry, apologies for the cursing, but it was really messed up. And because of that, this is one of the reasons why I came into philosophy, because philosophy is something which is in a way abstract. Philosophy is something which gives idea, and then the scientists, the physicists, the chemists come in and they convert that idea into reality, right? So philosophy is something that. So for rationality, I have immense respect for people. I mean, we are having this conversation. It's all because of science. It's all because of electricity, electrons, what is current, how does it move, how do we do that, all the technical stuff. That is where respect for science comes in. And when I was in my 7th grade, 7th or 8th grade, I wanted to go into astrophysics. And since in the holy books, it is something that is mentioned there, that one day in hell or heaven, hell is equal to 10,000 days that of earth. So that clicked. Oh my god, Einstein gave the relativity concept. Now if we know the time lapse and time difference, we can know the gravity. And if we can know both of them, can we take out the coordinates of where hell and heaven actually is? So does the holy books actually contain the essence of, are they trying to tell us that where the coordinates of hell and heaven actually are? Then developing the concept of how a black hole might be formed and how is it formed and all that kind of stuff. Again, my mathematics was very weak, but I do respect. Then I wanted to become an aerospace engineer way before the era of Elon Musk and all that kind of people came into limelight. I mean, they existed, but they didn't come into that much limelight. I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, open my own firm, which is still in the cards. I am doing my business, my entrepreneurship, my venture because I want to create an aerospace agency and want to explore the universe. And that needs capital, money. Science, I have immense respect for. mathematics, physics particularly.
We'll go slightly off topic since you brought up money. I've seen you talk about maybe this is on your second channel, but I've seen you talk about other streams of income that you're trying. Like I've seen you talk about launching a clothing brand. So yeah, where is all that? Like, what are all those ideas that you have?
I mean, me along with my girlfriend, we both run an apparel brand for the time being, and that is doing a good chunk of revenue. So that is the main source of income. Then we have a couple of clothing brands in mind, scaling that, and then taking an exit to gain capital. Then I also want to go into architecture because since I'm an architect, so by profession, I do not like architecture that much, but I'm an architect, so why not make use of that particular degree? So yeah, so that those are the stream of income. If you guys go to my channel and see the basic setup that I had earlier to this, it was very basic. You would remember Pranav bhai, when earlier we had podcasts. I used to use a pencil like this, keep it in a stand, and twist around the lapel mic around this like this. This is the lapel. This is the lapel mic. I used to do what I do is and twist around this and keep it in a pencil stand. This was my setup. I made a cardboard box, cardboard soft box for the light and put in a CF that LED bulb. So yeah, now I have my own studio, 3-room studio. I have equipments, high-end equipment. So yeah, and my philosophy content has upgraded. Now I can pay money, any chunk of money to anyone for editing and designing my thumbnail, which I do not tend to do. I tend to edit my own videos. I tend to write my own scripts and all of that. But yeah, so that is my journey, and that is where I am for the time being.
Yeah, man. That's what I wanted to. Those are the main questions I had for you. Is there anything specific you want to talk about?
Anything specific? First of all, I'd like to thank you. Why? Because in the initial days of the channel, the current channel, you were the only one who shared my channel. Hopefully you remember. I asked if you can share. I was having only 900 subscribers then, 1,000, and I got that initial spike, and I was very over the top. And many of the people who were on your channel came onto my channel at that point of time. It was around 2021 December or 22 January, and now they are like the core subscribers of the channel who came in. That we came in from scienceisdope. Hope you remember when you were at 900, you didn't even touch 1,000 subscribers. I'm thankful to that guy who helped me out. I approached other couple of people as well, but they didn't, why to share small creator's channel? What would that benefit? So you as a creator, I've always seen you as someone who is not sugarcoating or not buttering you, but honest opinion. You who does not create that difference that this is a small creator, this is a big creator. You seem more to be coming from a viewpoint that content should radiate, rationality should radiate. People are intellectual, but they need to fire that intellectuality. Even if they believe in something, they should have various perspectives and opinions. And we as content creators, it is not what our forefathers or fathers used to do. So consider this a gift from our end. I mean, if you consider this to be aggressive or rude, the audience who is watching, me, Pranav bhai, other people as well, I've had Bimo bhai as well. So all of these people are giving a gift to you. We are not meant to create this. Even if we want, we would not create the content. We are not obliged by the government ki you have to create content on rationalism. This is not our, something which we were born to do. But we are doing because we want to improve the society. You have your opinions, good, keep that. But be open to perspectives. Never ever shut down your mind, thinking yourself to be the superior one, or thinking your school of thought to be superior one, because there are stuff out there existing which is still not come in the limelight, which can fuck you up bad time. And you need to have that perspective. We are educators, not entertainers, right? So people who come on to me ki, why don't you create stuff on Indian philosophy? You are no Desi philosopher, you're not creating. I do not go around keep explaining them. because whatever I'm doing, even if I'm putting out a 2-minute video, that is, I'm adding something to this world, to this society. It will exist on YouTube. Why don't you switch on your camera and do that? Now you consider this to be aggression, being a rude behavior, but this is how I see the world to be. And I have, even if my channel goes away, it would not affect me. I've detached myself from it because I know my skills. I can create, and everyone should have that in their life. Never to attach yourself to something, particularly numbers, be it money, be it subscribers, be it promotion. The day you start attaching yourself, it will start running away from you because you'll start messing things up. You don't want to do that. Let that come to you. So yeah, small message. Hopefully people would open their mind and not take this is a very arrogant guy, this guy hypocrite guy, but take this as a experience.
Yeah, I think we can end the podcast here, if that's all. I would like to recommend one of Faraz's videos. I really like his video on Bhagat Singh. That's my favorite of yours. And I want to recommend that video to the audience. You can check out Faraz. I'll leave his channel link in the title. And that's about it.
Apologies to interrupt. My lectures are pretty long. If you have time, only subscribe if you have time. No editing, no fancy stuff. 2 hour, 3 hour. If you are willing to sit your ass down and watch them, learn something from that. Only then join the channel. Else, it would be a wasted opportunity for you.
Yeah, Faraz, I think that's it for this podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it. And Faraz, I hope this was you enjoyed the conversation also.
Yeah, very much. Good questions. I've had other podcasts, couple of podcasts. I didn't enjoy the host as much. They came in to like interview me, asking too much random shit, but I kept myself shut. But yours, we have had a connection, we have had a tuning. We had a small raffle in between when we met, but soon I realized the mistake. And the thing is, thank you. And thank you everyone who watched this. Science is dope and philosophy is also dope. So please do involve philosophy as well.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and that's it. I will see you in the next one. Bye, Faraz.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
See you.